Happy Wednesday, everyone, and it is a very happy Wednesday because we are going to be having some fun today and making something wonderfully delicious. And did I remember to set a bowl on my counter? No, I did not, but I have one right here, so we are good to go. I brought everything but the bowl to put things in. So how has your Wednesday been so far? I hope that you are having an amazing Wednesday. I know I am. You know, when you get to start the day off by talking to people that you love, it's just hard to have a bad day. And not that I wanted to have a bad day, I certainly didn't. But I'm having an amazing day. So we are going to make churros, Mexican churros. Now, if you've never had churros before, you are absolutely in for a treat. If you have had churros before, you're still in for a treat. So, let's get busy because we have a lot to do today. Now, we are just going to get everything right where we need it. I think. Okay, I think we're good. Now, you want to see what I'm doing here? Okay, here we go. Mexican churros are kind of a Mexican take on a cinnamon twist. So, let's get busy. Now, we are going to be heating up. First of all, let's get this heated up. Now, we're just going to do this on a low heat. 225 milliliters of water and 56 grams of butter. Now let's just the last little bit of that in there. Now we're also in this part going to add our salt, and we've got about half a teaspoon of salt. And we're also going to add our sweetener. Now, you know, this is really important because oh my goodness. There we go. The sweetener is going to dissolve in there, and I have there we go. I was going to say I have misplaced one of my sheets of instructions, and then poof, there it was. Okay. So, we've got everything. We've got almost everything going on here. Okay, so we're going to leave this, and we're just going to let it melt down. Let the sweetener melt down, the butter melt down. Now, while we're waiting for that to happen, we're going to move the pot handle out of the way. That is one of my pet peeves. You don't ever want pot handles sticking out over the stove. Now, we are adding 65 grams of flour, of almond flour. Not flour. See, I have used almond flour and coconut flour for so long that it's just kind of an automatic thing for me. I don't even think about it anymore. Okay, so we have 65 grams of almond flour and 30 grams of coconut flour. And then we are going to add 14 grams of psyllium husk powder. Oh, and we're just going to make a little bit of a mess all over the place. Okay, so no production crew here today. And I gotta say, for anybody who is not here today, I'm feeling a little sorry for them because they are missing out on this. Okay, now we are also going to add 6 grams of xanthan gum. Now the xanthan gum is kind of taking the place of the gluten and giving this some elasticity and yeah, just getting it all the way we want it to be when you're not using wheat flour. Okay, now we are going to just take a spoon and get this all mixed up. Now these are all of the dry ingredients that we want. Now you can dress this up however you want. You can add a little bit of cinnamon to the dough because this is a Mexican taste on a cinnamon twist. You could add a little bit of chili powder. You could add experiment a little bit. Have some fun with this. So you can, after we get the dough made, you can split that dough up into batches, and you can try different spices, but keep it Mexican. I mean, you don't want to be, well, you know what? It's your kitchen, your rules. So try whatever spices you like. But remember that churros, at the end of this, we are going to take these beautiful churros and we are going to roll them in cinnamon sugar. So you want to make sure that your flavors are going to go together. Now what we're doing today, melting this and getting our dry ingredients ready, it's kind of a Mexican take on a French pâte à choux. So because it's keto, it's important that we are doing it this way. Okay, now we are just going to give this a bit of a stir. You don't want it all to boil away. You just want to get it to a nice simmer. And once all the butter is melted and everything is all incorporated, we're going to add these dry ingredients to the pot. Now we're almost there. I don't think I told you. Now, you know, we're doing a Mexican theme and I didn't really do anything Mexican with my coffee, but I do have Da Vinci sugar-free buttered rum syrup. Hi, Del. So if you are watching and you've never seen the show before, leave a comment. If you have watched before, leave a comment anyway. So I love answering questions and just helping people navigate their keto journey. Okay, now you can see that this is steaming really well. Now we're just going to let it get to a bit of a simmer. We can turn the heat up for a minute. There we go. Bit of a simmer. We got it. Now, as soon as that happens, we are going to add our dry ingredients to the pot. Now, this is what makes this like a pâte à choux. Pâte à choux is a French dough that you use to make cream puffs. So, if we were super careful with this, we could actually fill our churros if we wanted to. Okay, now all of the dry ingredients are in there and we are going to cook this together until this dough starts pulling away from the side of the pot. And that is an important part of this recipe because that tells us that the dough is partly cooked already. It's gotten rid of a little bit of the moisture in it, which is important for the deep frying part of it. And it's smooth, and look at how beautiful this is. And when we stir it, it's still not, there it's starting to pull away. It only takes a minute or two. And you stir the dough and it just pulls right away from the side of the pot and then you know you are done. Okay, now, this is step one. And we have a few steps to go and we're going to get there. Okay, so step one is done. We're going to turn the heat off and we're going to take this hot Mexican pâte à choux. What do you call it when it's French dough with a Mexican twist? I don't know. Hola pâte à choux? I don't know. My Spanish, really terrible, in case you hadn't figured that out. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this pot. We are done with this. And we're going to let this cool for about 5 minutes because what we're going to end up with after this is cooled, we're going to add 2 eggs and we're going to add 30 grams of shredded mozzarella cheese and 5 milliliters or a teaspoon of vanilla. Now you can add a little bit of cinnamon to this as well if you like. We're not going to today, but we are going to leave this just rest for a few minutes. Now while we're doing that, we are going to get maybe I do believe I may have made an error in judgment. There we go. Maybe not as big an error as I thought. Now, I clarified some butter last night. Now, if you look at this, I heated it up a little while ago, and you can see that there's still a little bit in it for milk solids. So, we are going to take another pot. And we're just going to take the milk solids out of here, or take the oil out and leave any milk solids that have gone to the bottom. Now this really does show us that when you're doing clarified butter, you have to be so careful. Now it's not burnt, but what we've done here, kind of accidentally, but happy mistake, is what we've done is we've browned this butter, and that's going to give extra flavor to our churros. There, lost my words for a minute. Now, this is the part that we don't want in the oil, and you can see that there's a little bit that has turned brown there. That is the milk solids that we don't want. Now, those milk solids are what causes butter to burn. So we're just going to dump that in here. I know I'm making a lot of dishes dirty, and I'm doing it on a day when I don't have a production crew. So I don't know what's up with that. What am I thinking? Okay, now we're going to put this oil right back in here right after we get this wiped out. We want to get the last bits of this out, and we want the oil that's going back in to be clean. So when you are doing clarified butter, heat it up, strain it using a paper towel or cheesecloth, whatever it is you're going to strain it with. Now I am going to pour this back into this pan. We have this beautiful clarified butter that is already browned, and so it is going to be beautifully nutty and wonderful. And we are going to start it heating. Let's see if we can't get the last little bit of that out of there without getting any milk solids. That's the important part. Those milk solids are what burns. The oil in butter actually has a much higher smoke point than a lot of oil does. And so it makes it wonderful for doing something like this, because the smoke point on it is, depending on the butter, between 4 and 400. Okay, I think that is about as good as it's going to get. So we are going to set this aside. Now we need to heat this oil. If you still own a deep fryer, or maybe you've never owned a deep fryer, but if you own a deep fryer, this is where you want to use it. You don't need to fill it right full. You don't need to put the basket down in it and have, 8 cups of oil or whatever. Now, I've got a thermometer in here where we want the temperature of this oil is about 350 degrees. So we're going to let that start heating, and we do need to keep an eye on this because it is going to get hotter. Now, my magnetic induction burner, I can set it on a scale of 1 to 10, or I can set it in Fahrenheit or Celsius. So we're just going to let that start heating, and I've got it set at 285. Even though I want the temperature between 350 and 400, you really have to watch this. Okay, now this has rested for a little bit, so we are going to crack our eggs, and we're just going to beat these up a little bit because it makes it easier to get them incorporated evenly into our dough. Okay, while we're beating them up, we might as well add our vanilla. This is easy peasy. Okay, now I'm going to get noisy on you again. I know I do this to you guys quite often, right? Okay, that is about all we need. Now we're going to get our hand mixer out. We don't need a big stand mixer. We just need our little hand mixer. We're going to add our 30 grams of mozzarella, assuming that we can get it to stop sticking from the bowl. Now, if you look in our pan, you'll see that there are some little streaks. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but those little streaks are telling us that that oil is heating up, and I am seeing that it is already at 225 degrees. So we need to get busy. Now, I'm going to scrape this out because we want to make sure that we get all of the egg and the vanilla in there, especially the vanilla. A little bit less egg isn't going to make all that much of a difference, I suppose, but a little less vanilla is not a good thing because it is so delicious. And it works so beautifully with this recipe. It just enhances it hugely. So even though we're going to have an intense flavor like cinnamon, now what we're using today is TSL Ceylon cinnamon, the true cinnamon. Okay, now this is about 275 already, so we want to get this done. So we need to get it mixed up quick. We'll turn the speed up, get this all mixed in. You'll be able to tell looking at this when it's all mixed thoroughly. And when it is, it's time to put it in our piping bag. See how this is starting to kind of go into one ball? Okay, we need to turn this down so that it doesn't spray all over the place. Now, if you touch it on the side of the bowl, it's going to help you get that dough out of the beaters. Okay. Are we almost done here? We are almost done here. And you know what? We're making a bit of a mess, but that's okay too. We can clean it up a little bit later. So I just need that production crew. That would be me today. Okay. So let's put this over here. And forgot a cloth. I don't very often do that. Especially when I plan on making a mess, which I definitely do today. Okay, now we are going to just turn this off for a minute because we're at 350. It'll go right back up to 350 when we turn it back on. Okay, so tuck this in my pocket where I can get at it. Now, you need a piping bag with a star tip on it. Now this one is, let me look, this is a Wilton number 20 star tip. This is perfect for churros. So use what you've got, but I really do recommend that you use a star tip. And the reason for that is, now this is a disposable piping bag. If you have one that is a reusable one, use that. But I have these disposable ones, especially when I don't have a production crew, right? Okay. So here we go. Hey, Tammy, I'm glad you could join us. Now, this is about 350 degrees. We're going to turn this back on. Okay. Now, I know that this oil is where we need it. It's between 350 and 400. You really want to watch your oil. The last thing you want is a kitchen fire. So, we've got our churro dough in here, and we are going to pipe this right into our hot oil. Now, you want to make them 4 or 5 inches long and use scissors to cut them off. Now, when you do this in a frying pan, you can get more in because there's more surface area. And if you watch, using this star tip, not only do you get more in here, but the star tip leaves ridges, and those ridges mean that the oil can touch more places on the dough. Move over. And so that means it's getting more of the moisture out of the dough, so it's gonna give us a better cook on it. And I'm seeing, even though I've got my heat turned down, my temperature is back up to 375. So you definitely want to watch this. Now I have my little flipper dealies here. You want to start with the first one that you put in. They only need about 2 minutes on each side. Let them get nice and golden brown, and then flip them over. And once you flip them over, another minute or two, depending on how hot your oil is. Now, you know, you can Google smoke points for oil. And when you do that, it will tell you which one is going to be the best out of the ones that you have in your pantry. And hopefully the ones that you have in your pantry are, just watching my oil temperature here. Now these probably could have waited another minute. But here we are. So these are almost done. They are going to be so delicious. I wish you guys could taste these. You need to do this at home. This is super easy. It's just a few ingredients, and it is going to make your family happy, and it's going to make your mouth happy. You don't want to miss out on this. Okay, now these are just going to be another minute, and I've got some dough stuck to my apron. I guess I made more of a mess than I thought. Okay, now when these are done, we want to put them on a plate with a paper towel on it, just to absorb any excess oil that's there. Now this was our first one that we put in. Is it done? I'm thinking it probably is. Now my oil temperature went down a little more than I wanted to. One thing about using a deep fryer is that you have a little more control over your oil temperature than you do like this. Now, for me personally, the upside of not having a deep fryer is that I don't deep fry a lot of foods. Okay, so when you take them out of the pan, you put them on a paper towel to rest, flip them over. You should be able to feel a little bit of the crunch. Now, I'm going to let these cook for another minute, get this out of the way, and while that is cooking for another minute, just clean up a little bit more of my mess. I have mess everywhere. Thank you. Okay, there we go. There, I'm just flinging dough all over the place. Kitchen magic. Now, did you know that TSL Organics is going to have some TSL Organic merch that you can buy? I think that's probably the first time I've ever said that on purpose. I'm kind of a little bit of a grammar Nazi. Okay, there. Now, those are definitely done on one side, maybe even a little bit more than I wanted, and we're still watching that very carefully. Now, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of TSL Organic Ceylon cinnamon. And we're going to turn that oil down a little bit. Now we're going to mix this up because this is what we are tossing the churros in. Now it is important for this step that you let the churros drain a little bit, cool a little bit, and that you use a granular sweetener, because the granular part of it, I'm going to take these out and we'll put another batch in to fry. There we go. And we are using healthy oil, the clarified butter, that just really does. Have you ever clarified butter? It is so easy, and I've got to be honest with you. I was going to buy some, and I found that, at least in my area, it was a ridiculous price. Okay, there we go. That happened. Okay. We'll do a couple more in here. Now this is a small frying pan, but I can still get about 4 or 5 in the frying pan, depending on how long. You want these to be 4 to 7 inches long-ish. Thereabouts. I'm going to do one more. Now every time you add fresh batter to your pan, 2 things are true. First of all, you have some yumminess on the way. Yep. Okay, where is it? There it is. But the other thing is it cools down your oil. So you have to get that oil heated up again. So just for a minute, I'm going to turn the temperature up on the oil. And so you don't want to overload your pan, because every one that you put in there is going to bring that oil temperature down just a wee bit. Now, the ones that are already done, let's make sure this is well mixed. You don't want just a plain spot of cinnamon on there. Have you guys ever seen the cinnamon challenge? I thought it was really stupid. But, and I'm not exactly sure why anybody would agree just to take a big mouthful of cinnamon. And so we want to make sure that we don't do that to anybody here. So you can see that cinnamon is well incorporated. Every now and again there's a little bit of a lump in our granular erythritol. So that was half a cup of erythritol, granular erythritol, and 2 teaspoons of TSL Organics Ceylon cinnamon. So if you are wanting to stock your pantry with beautiful organic spices, just shoot me a message and let me know. Okay, now we are just going to toss these in our cinnamon sugar, only for a minute. You don't want tons and tons. And does she have another plate to put these ones on? No. Doesn't seem to matter how prepared I think I am. I am not. So where is my production assistant when I need one? Well, I guess she would be right here. Okay, so let's put these churros on here. I'm just going to move this out of the way and set this where you can see it and drool over it and wish you were here. Now we're going to put the other 2 in here, and then the ones in the pan should be ready to flip. And we're just kind of tossing these in the cinnamon sugar. These are ready right now. Okay, and we are going to, no, the oil isn't too hot, but I can smell that these churros are ready. Okay, come on, kids, turn over. They can be a little bit of a pain to turn over, but you can see the ridges in them, and those ridges are allowing the moisture in them to escape. You need the moisture in there. Whoops. You need the moisture in there so that you can get the dough mixed well, but you don't need the moisture to stay in there if you want them crispy and chewy and wonderful. And look at those. That is what we're building. That's what we're working towards. That is a little tiny taste of Mexico when you are stuck in Canada in October, when it is going to be not very much above freezing. And I am going to be outside today. Now, if you happen to be in the Wetaskiwin area, I am going to be at the Wetaskiwin Farmers Market today with my line of TSL spices. Everything that I have, and I know you guys already know this, it's sugar-free, grain-free, gluten-free, and it's organic. These are wonderful. And using that clarified butter is brilliant. Now, if you don't want to use clarified butter, pardon me, you can definitely use coconut oil. You want to make sure that you get a refined coconut oil. If you get a cold pressed extra virgin coconut oil, it has a much lower smoke point. So as much as we don't want processed things in our life, sometimes there is a reason for them. Now these are getting pretty close to done. So I am just going to pull those out of the oil and let those drain a little bit. See, it does not take long. And if you watch your oil temperature and pay attention to what you're doing, you can have a batch of Mexican churros done. Well, how long have we been together? We've been together half an hour, and we have a batch ready to eat. So the only issue with these, I've got to tell you, there is definitely an issue with these, and the issue is they are absolutely delicious. So you might want to be careful how many you make if you're home alone. Now I'm going to turn this oil off for a little while. Now you don't need to make all of the churros at once. You can leave the dough in your piping bag, put it in a sandwich bag or a Ziploc bag of some kind so that it doesn't dry out, especially the tip. You want to make sure that's covered well. Yep, not going to waste that cinnamon sugar. You can put it in your fridge and keep it for 2 or 3 days. When you are going to cook it, make sure that when you take it out of your fridge, you let it get up to room temperature. You don't want to be putting that cold dough in the hot oil. So that's what I have for you today. Cinnamon churros, about as Mexican as they can be in Alberta, Canada. Thank you very much for joining me today. Remember, I will be back here again on Friday at noon Mountain. When we get together on Friday, we are going to make keto chili con carne, Mexican style. Okay, I want all of you to do your very best, to live your best version of this shining life. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a few more churros. I might even have a few tastes for friends at the market this afternoon. So please have a wonderful day. Call a friend, call a family member, tell them you love them. If you can't get a hug in person, get a virtual hug. We all deserve that. And I will see you Friday at noon for chili. You don't want to miss it. Be here. Bring a fork? I don't know. Okay, I will see you on Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for making churros with me. And if you follow this recipe, if you do it at home, please let me know how they turned out. Send me pictures. I love it when you guys do that. Okay, I'm out of here. I have lots to do. I will see you on Friday at noon, and we'll do chili. Talk to you then. Bye for now.